a lot is revealed at our immersions, a lot is healed at our immersions, and then there's the part of personal responsibility. We talk about our AAA of awareness, acknowledgement, and action, right? You have to be aware that there's a problem in the first place. That's what brings men to the immersion. You have to acknowledge the pain you've caused yourself and others, right? You have to acknowledge your responsibility in whatever is going on in your life, and then action to change it. So the action is what really takes place after the immersions. And we've seen some amazing things transpire since returning home.
Here we are,
Dun, dun.
back from the immersion.
I think
welcome, Russell.
Sometimes dun dun dun. I just like big dramatic openings.
Yes. Whew, well, I'm finally woken up after a long sleep of a week and a half after the immersion. Are you feeling rested?
I don't need a week and a half. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, we are definitely integrating from our last in-person event here in Austin. That was phenomenal, which will be the focus of our episode today, because man, the outcomes both from the weekend and how it's shown up in the men's lives in the last week and a half is nothing short of extraordinary, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've mentioned on these podcasts the different primary masculine archetypes: the lover, the warrior, the magician, the king, and we, while we embody all of them simultaneously, with these immersions every quarter, we focus and really focus in on one of those archetypes. And this was the lover immersion, and it was freaking powerful. Men's hearts opened, families saved. Like we saw a direct result after the immersion of the incredible shifts, and you could see it in men's faces. I mean, men came hardened and leather-faced.
Literally in their faces.
Yeah. And you could see the pain and the armor that most of us are carrying throughout our lives. I mean, what are men taught about pain? Suck it up. Just take it. Yep. And there is a point. Yes, we do that.
We are entering the warrior season.
Yeah. There's absolutely a place for that. And a
that'll
point
be next week's episode.
It's just, there has to be a time to take the armor off. As I said before, we don't want to go around all soft and simpy all the time, right? It's not that kind of men's group. It's where we just talk about our feelings. There's more to it than that. If you're on the battlefield, suit of armor, really good idea. In the bedroom, not so helpful, right? Mm-hmm. So, so if you want to have an intimate relationship with your woman, you have to know how to open your heart. And again, and if you want to, not just the intimate relationship with the woman, because I don't want the lover archetype to just be about sex. It's not, right? It's not just about romance. Talked about that
pretty extensively.
Right? It's not just about romance. If you want to have joy for life,
right,
you have to have an open heart, right? So that's what this immersion was about, and again, just transformational for a lot of men. It was super powerful.
Well, I'm excited to get into some of that on today's episode and really highlight some of the specific work that was done, because one of the reasons we have this particular recording about a week and a half after the immersion, we've had time to integrate and rest and all that. But I'm sure a lot of men out there experience, you go to some kind of retreat or transformational weekend and you come home and you're on this high and you want to change everything. And fucking by Wednesday, you're doing the same bullshit over and over again. And it's gravity is fierce, as we say, right? So now it's been a week and a half, and we just had one of our weekly calls with the Brotherhood last night, of which a number of new men joined that. So that's awesome to have new men on this journey with us that came to the immersion. So for you men out there, this gateway into the Ignite work is to come to an immersion, have a call, see if this is the right fit. And then if we're your people and we have room, you can join this group and be a part of a brotherhood that takes care of each other and have 24 men at your back at the ready. It's a powerful, amazing thing to have in your life.
Yeah.
But beyond that, the work that was done is now integrating into these men's lives. And we saw on the call last night, the work doesn't stop. If anything, these immersions are like, whoa, this is the work that I need to do in my life. Now I need to go be about it, not just talk about it, right? The immersions are the embodiment, getting it in the nervous system.
Right.
And then it's like, I need to live it out. I need to live a life. You need to live a life congruent with that version you tapped into. You often say, Russell, you don't go to the gym and get buff one time. Like, you got to go back. You got to have this in your life at whatever level.
Right.
So it was really great to see, even after a week and a half, although the high of the immersion tempers down, which is normal, the actual work and the outcomes that were claimed at that time, I mean, beyond extraordinary. So I think let's get into some of those examples to show the men out there, like, this is possible for your life. This is what, these men came with and what they left with and what is still going on.
Right. And, since you mentioned that about, this is where the work begins. I'm reminded of, like, anybody who's ever done an ayahuasca journey or plant medicine. The point of one of those, and we don't do that at the immersions, but the point of that is the ayahuasca shows you what's up in your life and what needs to be done. You then have to go do the work. And I've seen a lot of people that become, addicted to the experience of that journey, but they don't
Seminar
do anything
junkies.
when they get home. It's like, it's like that plant teacher is giving you the instruction manual of what needs to be repaired in your life. If you don't do anything, you just keep going back for more instructions. And we see it with, personal development and motivational seminars. You have these seminar junkies. That's not what we do.
It's the same with working out. Like, you lift weights but eat like shit, you're not going to gain muscle. It's like, if you work out till you're blue in the face, you have the instruction manual, but you don't have the actual substance to build the muscle. Isn't that right?
But a lot of people aren't even working out. It's like, I bought this gym membership and I haven't gotten in shape yet. Well,
you're not rubbing it hard enough on you. You got to take that card and really get it in there.
That's funny. Yeah,
I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought.
No. It was already derailed. So that train didn't have a long track. It's just, again, this is the work. So a lot is revealed at our immersions, a lot is healed at our immersions, and then there's the part of personal responsibility. We talk about our AAA of awareness, acknowledgement, and action, right? You have to be aware that there's a problem in the first place. That's what brings men to the immersion. You have to acknowledge the pain you've caused yourself and others. Right? You have to acknowledge your responsibility in whatever is going on in your life, and then action to change it. So the action is what really takes place after the immersions. And we've seen some amazing things transpire since returning home.
Yeah. Absolutely. There was one man that described it who's, I want to call him a seminar junkie, but a man that has been involved in a number of communities, leads a community himself. And he said, when people ask me about Ignite and about going to these events, like, what is it about? He's like, dog, this is where you do the real fucking work. Like, this is where you do the deep work. And rightfully so, in that other programs, like, they're for specific purposes. Like, our specific purpose is for men to have a container and a community of brotherhood to do the deep work so that they can show up more energy rich in their relationships, in their businesses, in their families, and really for their mission in the world, right? Which all those things are integrated.
Yeah.
So just to help set this up from the immersion, there were some men, especially some of the new men, again, being around the lover energy in their relationships, men that have been healing long-term traumas around addicted lover behavior, such as pornography, prostitution, and the after effects of healing a family from having that in your life, a passionless marriage where they became more roommates and fighting about blended families. We had, new babies coming in, that finding out about men expanding their families. We had
that one man, just to interject, claimed that at the last immersion before this one. He's like, I'm going to have another son. And 3 months later, by the way, I'm having a son. So what?
Right. He actually claimed 3 sons, and the woman he's with has 2 already. Right. So there's, and we never know the how.
And that relationship had not started when he made that claim.
Right.
Amazing.
We've had other men who are reuniting their family after infidelity. There's just been And then now, again, week and a half later, and you can start talking to this. These are some of the what was on the menu for saving a family. And we firmly believe that one of the most revolutionary acts you could do as the awakened man is to have a strong, powerful family, a God-centered family. So with that, brother, kind of teed them up there for you. Would love to hear your perspective on some of these transformations.
Yeah. I'll start with one man who had run the lone wolf pattern his entire life, and he's been through some shit. I mean, not just what's happening with his family, infidelity from his wife, and family broken up. She's moved out, and even before that, I think in his childhood there was a ton of trauma. So he had been lone wolfing it. And when he came to the immersion, he was just wallowing in his hurt. It's the woe is me. I don't know what to do. And he didn't necessarily have a victim mindset, but he was stuck in that loop. And when he was at the immersion, completing the immersion, he's like, I'm going to fucking fight for my family. I'm going to fight for my family. And he claimed his power. He claimed his balls back. And it was amazing to watch. And his heart was open from day one, like a flower in the desert who'd been longing for a drink of water. He's just like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is what I've wanted,
Right.
Because again, how many men out there have a safe circle of men that are going to hold you to your highest standard? Like, it's not just, again, I want to be clear. We don't just talk about our feelings, right? It's about, no, you're a fucking warrior, right? And we're going to hold you to that highest standard, and we're going to support you. We're going to be there when you fall to go, come on, brother, get up. We're not doing it for you. We're going, come on, man, get up. We got you. And again,
you got to do your own work.
To have a circle of men that have your back like that, I think in the military, men experience that. That's why you talk about, the band of brothers, because when they go through that life-threatening experience together, it creates a bond unlike any other, and this is kind of that same bond without the, carnage and warfare, but it's acknowledging the warfare we're each going through in our hearts and our minds and our own individual lives. Yeah. So this guy was just like, oh God, yes. And because we didn't see him as the story he was projected, because we didn't see him in that victimhood, because we saw him as a warrior, because we saw him as his highest potential and called him forward to that, he rose to the occasion. And again, reclaimed his balls, reclaimed his power. He's like, I'm going to fight for my family. Guess what? Right after he gets home from the immersion, his wife moves back in. And that healing, and he's got a beautiful relationship with his children. Got to see one of his children on the Zoom call last night. She popped in, and just a little angel, and the love that he has for his family is incredible. So, witnessing that was amazing. If you have anything to say on that one.
Yeah. Just to kind of give the raw and real of the story, because as we often say, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And even though he went home and claimed his family, his wife, and we talked about this last night on our call, there's going to be the test, because again, you come home and you're like, everything's changed. I'm healed. All that stuff I ever did to you that was bad doesn't exist anymore.
Cue violin music. No.
And your partner's not going to believe it right away. You've probably made those promises in the past, like, oh, everything's going to be different. I'm going to change. And then you kind of didn't do anything different. So why is this time any different? So it's the feminine's way of saying, is this real? Can I trust this? Like putting, it's like they're testing the borders of the boundary of like, am I safe or not? Right. And she's definitely putting up some of that resistance right now. We had to kind of walk him through. He's also a man new to the work. So, we saw his story, as you're talking about story, get created and just getting mixed up in the data and getting all wrapped around the axle about it. It's like, oh, hold on.
Yeah.
Take a breath, slow it down. Let's look at what's happening, and having him, again, it's independent of the circumstance, reclaim, like, what was that energy you had from the immersion?
Mm-hmm.
How do we carry that forward? And then it's like, okay, now I know how I need to step up, because this was another man shared to him, was like, whatever you choose, great, but just know that you need to come from your heart in that choosing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll do anything, whether it's I'm staying steeped in and we're doing this thing, or no, this isn't safe for my family, right? Again, it's not our decision for that man, it's his. And he definitely is staying in that decision of like reclaiming his family. It's a beautiful thing. And he has the road ahead. And again, having support, like you're talking about, having brotherhood, man, it's so important, because it's a hard road to travel by yourself.
Yeah.
Really fucking hard. And being with other men that have walked that path before, being able to shine the light for him and say, no, you can make this. And he's at the beginning of his journey. But yeah, his passion, his grit, it's going to really come through. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if there's been any kind of trouble in the relationship, regardless of what it is, if you and your wife, your partner are at odds, you got to rebuild that trust. Even if they're the one that broke the trust, there was something that led to that, right? So emotionally, there's a lack of trust there, whether it's trust that you're not going to fly off the handle, whether it's trust that you're going to accept her after what she's done, whatever it may be. And I liken it to, if you've ever, walked on a frozen pond or something and fallen through, it's like, it's a scary feeling, right? So if your woman has kind of fallen through that ice before because it wasn't really that stable and it wasn't really strong enough to support her, what's she going to do when you say, come out onto the ice, it's okay now? She's going to kick it. She's going to stomp on it, while it's staying 1 foot on the shore. She's going to find the heaviest rock she can and throw it onto the ice to make sure it's going to. So these are all the tests that we go through, right? She's going to push the buttons. She's going to push the buttons to make sure this is really not going to go off. So can you be that strength? Can you be that quiet sanctuary and not react, but instead respond with an open heart? That's the difference. And few men are able to do that because we want to take it personally, right? We want to go, oh, you said, she said, blah, blah. And three things will make a woman feel, that'll kill intimacy: feeling unseen, unheard, unsafe. If you're like, fuck, I'm leaving, and storm out the door, you may think it's the best thing to give her, to give yourself time to cool down. But what's it tell her? That the minute things get tough, you're walking out the door. Mm-hmm. So we got to reprogram how we respond versus react.
Yeah. This one man's story, I think, just opens up a lot of the work for so many men out there. We also saw with another new man where it's like they're already separated. They're already in separate bedrooms. This one man you're talking about, it's like they were already split apart, and these children that are involved, right? It becomes more than just about you and your personality challenges in a relationship. I mean, now you're responsible for a family. And I mean, man, now I'm thinking of other men that are in the Brotherhood where work came up around, like, oh man, like many children and families that like are literally being saved. So I'm just want to speak to you men out there who maybe are in a long-term relationship or in a new relationship, whatever it may be, where you're already 1 foot out the door, your partner's already 1 foot out the door, and there are children involved. And like, what are you willing to step into and fight for? And as Russell said, not just run away and stomp your feet and say, I'm out of here.
Right.
And what does it look like to actually turn into it and say, I'm going all the way? And maybe I have something to look at here. And those men really had to look in the mirror. And the beautiful thing about the immersion experience is that we're all the mirrors for each other. Right. We often say, your work is my work, because man, what you're going through, I'm going through, and you doing your deepest work around this topic helps me heal with that thing I'm going through. Or maybe my life experience has some value here for you to say, hey, you may want to be aware of this, young son, on the way to that journey. So many beautiful aspects of that. We saw one of the men in the group or that attended the immersion that, has been around a while in his life. And now at this point of like, fuck, I've given up on just the passion of life. And, everything is an argument. Everything is a judgment. Everything is like, a butting of heads where it's just like, now we're living separate lives.
Right. Sleeping in separate rooms.
Yeah. And the wake up of like, no, I love this person. I love my life. Like I've been in this, been asleep essentially in this, what we would say energy neutral trance. Right. But then it takes the immersion, like really waking up, right? Waking up the nervous system, all of the things that we do to show a man like this is worth fighting for.
Right. Right. And even in that particular situation, what was amazing, what he realized during the immersion when she, because it was her idea to sleep in separate beds, separate rooms. What he heard is, "I'm done with you," and he fought the words coming out of her mouth. What he missed was the subtext saying, "Come get me, fight for me, be the man that I know you can be." Yeah. And he realized that went, "Oh shit."
She's also the one that said, "Go sign up for Ignite's program."
yeah. It's like, all right, clearly you're not figuring this out on your own. Get some help.
Here's the link.
yeah, because she wanted him to rise up.
Yeah, they really do.
She didn't want him. She didn't want him to leave. She didn't want him to quit. She was ready to quit if he didn't get his shit together, but she wanted him to rise up.
That's like the other end of the test, right?
Yeah.
There's the throwing of the stones at the ice, but there's also like, are you going to come get me? Are you going to let me just go?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right on track.
Yeah. So that was a beautiful awareness and aha moment for him. And since returning again, things are transforming. And there's a lot of work to be done, but it's happening. And she received him. She received this new version of him when he came home. She's like, "There you are.
Right.
There you are."
Yeah. And that's the biggest, because, to go from nothing to, we always talk about our immersions being like jumping in the deep end of the pool. It's an inertia barrier. And we talked on a previous episode around the 5 regrets of the dying, where it takes courage to actually take action. So we know for men, it's hard to make that call, to say, I need help, to throw down the money, the travel, to come, to do this thing. And it's like, when you do it, you're like, I can't imagine ever not doing it, because it just makes so much sense. And it's so hard sometimes for you men out there to just take that action step. And this man, I mean, it was kind of getting to the last straw where it's like, here's the link, do this, or this is not going the right direction. Yeah.
He was there.
I know, I'm softening it. Yeah. But he did finally, and boom, everything's transforming.
Yeah.
Another really significant transformation or outcome that I want to highlight from the immersion is a man who really found his mission for honoring the feminine energy in the culture. I don't know how better to say it. But this is a man that had been battling addictions. He's been sober from all that for 4 or 5 years. However, realizing the trail of trauma that he left behind, both for his wife and family, to the quote unquote victims of things that he's done in the past, and starting to actually grieve that, dare I say, at an ancestral level. But what came of that for him in solidifying his mission? This is a man very successful in business, and now is allowing that part of his story to lead him in this newfound vision for himself. And just blown away. And
obviously we're protecting the confidentiality and identity of the men, and because of that, like, I want to say, you're glazing over addictions. We're talking about pornography. We're talking about prostitution. We're talking about chemical addictions, massage parlors. I mean, as dark as it gets. And the reason I want to call that out, the reason I want to say that is for any of you men listening, they're going, "Oh man, nobody's done anything as bad as I have." Bullshit. "Oh man, I'm the only one that's this fucked up." Bullshit.
Or that it's a victimless crime.
Yeah. Stop telling yourself that. Right. Yeah. So it's like, everybody's got their shadows. Everybody's done something bad. We've all done really fucked up things. Welcome to being a man. And the question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to fix it? Are you going to be aware of it? Are you going to acknowledge the pain that you've caused yourself and others? And that's what this man's journey has been, is the pain that he caused his wife and the trust that he has to rebuild. But in doing all of that because he was willing to face it head on. He was able to forgive himself finally, which was a huge piece. And because he had forgiven himself, he was now able to take up the banner of, I want to help other men not to make the same mistakes. And this has become a part of his mission to protect the feminine, to acknowledge the hurt that he caused the feminine women, just the feminine energy as a whole, as an entity. And all of these different women and what they had been through that had led them to a life of prostitution or whatever else it may be, right? And you just perpetuating that pain if you're indulging in it. So for him to acknowledge that and go, you know what, this is part of my mission, and to be front facing with it and just go, look, this is what I did. This is who I am. Two different things, right?
Very.
This is what I did, but this is who I am. And standing on that principle and going, I'm going to make the world a better place. I'm going to now be a protector of the feminine. And it's like powerful. Like I had seen him before the immersion as somebody who was kind of shut down sexually, who was trapped in that guilt. And now I see him as a fucking warrior of the heart, and standing strong and proud, and his passion is leading him. And his passion in his relationship with his wife is now like 10x, right?
Yeah.
Right.
30.
I think he gave us the count of romantic encounters since returning from the immersion. It's off the charts, with his wife. So,
right. Thank you for that distinction.
To be clear, with his wife, because he's a dedicated husband. And
could I?
Yeah,
I want to. I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
Yeah, that was it. Just like he's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, there's an important distinction here I want to make to the men out there, because especially men out there that may be facing some of these challenges, addictions. There's a certain part of it where a lot of the work is just one, stopping those behaviors, right? Recognizing what's underneath that makes that behavior okay, and doing that work. And that's where that man existed for a long time. Like a lot of recovery programs are geared around, how do I, one day at a time, how do I not do the thing that got me in trouble, right? And the big flip that happened for him, and again, he's been sober from all these things for almost 5 years. So he's had a handle on it. But now, the distinction here is he's recognizing the impact that those actions had, not just on himself, which you talked about forgiveness for himself, but the impact on others, and not just his wife and family, but all the women that were subjected to his behaviors. And it's important to bring in that distinction, because when you watch pornography, when you engage in prostitution, the industry that you're plugging into, the matrix of energy that you are now accepting into your body, is dark, frankly. And a lot of those women are doing those things really against their will, right? And that was another enlightening fact that came out. It's like, that's why I said before, it's not a victimless crime. And many of these pornography sites, especially, like, there's some hardcore shit on there that these women are not, and girls for that matter, boys for that matter, are not. This is not consensual.
Right.
They're not enjoying this. And then if you are deriving pleasure in any sense from this, you are now plugged into that, and that shit gets inside of you. It gets its hooks inside of you. And we talk about that cheap dopamine, and this is a real call out to, like, what do you support? We talk about voting with your dollar, voting with your attention. Like, where are you putting your attention? What are you allowing into your life that is obviously low vibration, right? So this man did a really great job of cutting that off in his own life, but now asking for forgiveness from the feminine of, like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I threw you away. I'm sorry we displaced you. I'm sorry, and he had a beautiful spoken word about it, where it was just like, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, because it was just such a beautiful call out and apology from the masculine to the feminine. And the last thing I'll say is, I shared this with our group, that I had the opportunity to speak to a group of women in my wife's Wild Rose community for women, and on this very topic. And one of the women was sharing about the hurt and the trauma and the sensitivity to be open to men. And I just apologized and said I was sorry on behalf of men. A big part of it was in response to this man's work. that impacted me personally so much. And then to offer that, as we've been talking, the Ho'oponopono prayer of like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, to these women and women in general. And man, it has been hugely transformational, not only personally, but this is the work of the awakened masculine. With that, I'll be complete.
It is indeed a part of the work for the awakened masculine. Absolutely, is to that acknowledgement and to just be able to stand in that and go, yeah, I did this. I'm sorry. And not explain it, not justify it, not defend it. Yeah, but you did. Yeah. Acknowledge it, really fully acknowledge it. But so do you have something you want to say? I hear you taking a breath.
Just one last note on that, because I could feel men out there listening to it. Where they're like, well, I haven't done any of those things, so I don't need to feel sorry or bad for things that have happened to women, right? I could just feel that coming up. And I would just offer, if that's a thought, that as a general, us men have some real showing up to do. And we all need to do our part in how we can even further honor the feminine. So at whatever level or place you can, that's what's important. So I just want to add that piece in.
Right. Yeah. It's not about you being personally blamed for it. It's just about, look, I as a man, I take responsibility for the masculine energy. It's not like you take the fault, but you take responsibility and just have the fortitude to look that woman in the face and go, I'm sorry that happened to you. If I encounter a woman who's been beaten by her husband, I didn't beat her, but I will still say, I'm sorry. So sorry that happened to you. I'm so sorry there's men out there that would do this sort of thing. And trust me, as a self-defense instructor, I deal with post-traumatic, situations with women that have been raped, that have been the victims of domestic violence, that have been, and I have to remain not behind bars because the things I want to do to the men that did those things, but like, I'm not Batman, so I'm not going to be a vigilante going around beating up every man that's done bad things. But the first thing I can do, and probably what's even more impactful to those women than that, is just say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that there's men out there that do that. And not all of us are like that. Please trust that there are some of us that wish to uplift, protect, and uphold the feminine. So it's just a different state of mind. But
yeah,
that said, shaking it off, and
you can feel the energy changing there. Well,
so
it's this is deep rooted. This is the thing. Like, let's not shy away from the intensity and violations that have occurred on the behalf of men. Right. But again, this man particularly is now more resolved in his mission to bring awareness to this and lead men in that forgiveness, and to use his platform to help men not fall into that trap. That's the effect. Not, and of course the intimacy in his own family as a result, which you spoke about a little bit. Powerful stuff. Yeah, really powerful stuff. Yeah.
Shifting gears,
please.
You're like, no, wait, I want to say another thing. Shifting gears, Michael. Another man who is a young man, his first time coming to an Ignite Immersion, and had a past of womanizing and playing the field, doing that kind of stuff. But this isn't about that. But he's found this incredible woman, and she's got 2 kids that have gone through some shit with the divorce and with the way their father treats them. And he's came to the immersion like he's chosen this woman, like all the stuff he did in his past behind him, like this woman, she's the one, and it's awesome. The kids, he's like, I don't know how to be there for them. I don't want to step in as their dad. And what we discovered is he'd actually been through the same thing when he was a child.
Right.
He'd suffered the same traumas. He knew
Isn't that
their
interesting?
story as his own. I'm like, bro,
Right. Like ding, 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 ding.
why don't you share that with them?
Right. And that was so off his radar. Right. He was trying to be logical about it
Yeah.
and like, you know, from a good place. But yeah, what got revealed was amazing.
And you know, him just to even in the immersion, we did kind of a dress rehearsal with him having that conversation with those children. And like, hey, I want to talk to you guys about something. You know, all the stuff you're going through, I went through it too. And he actually did that when he got home, and man, it brought them closer together.
Right.
Holy crap!
Amazing.
They're like, you know, because now it's me too. Now it's like you understand, and it created a bond with them that I believe is going to be unbreakable.
Yeah, I want to make an important note here just about that story, because you know what you said was we kind of did a dress rehearsal, allowed him to act that through almost, and then go home and have that conversation. One, we're not recommending you do that. Have someone, a trained professional, help you with that. But how important it is to have that prior, because you know, if you have a charge or some issue and you try to address it directly with the person without having moved through that energy properly, often that ends in argument, fights, breakdown. It doesn't really accomplish the goal. Right. So the fact that he was able to sort through and work through the energy and the emotion and then the words to then show up in that situation, dropped in, clear, coming from his heart. That is how the work then shows up in life, right? Just to give a little more context to, you know, doing the work, as we call it, is important. And yes, for that man to have that aha, it's like, what I love is like seeing men get exactly what they came for. I love when they get more than what they came for, which is usually the case. But to see like that like linchpin that was holding them back or that needed to come through, comes through, beautiful thing. Yeah. And that will change that family's life.
Yeah, obviously the dress rehearsal wasn't the totality of his immersion experience.
No,
it was a piece of it. And like, I mean, so many other transformations.
We have a couple minutes left, so maybe some notable mentions and a call to action for you men out there, because I think what we want to get across to you is that, like, or the question I'll pose here is like, what's that thing in your life? What's that crossroads? But really, what is the outcome you're seeking? For that one man, it's I want to reunite my family. For another man, is I want to reunite my relationship. One man, it's I want to be a part of this family that I'm coming into. For another man is I want to make an impact in the lives that were impacted by my actions. So what is it that you want to do as the outcome? Because what you need to go through, what you need to look at, that's secondary to what it is that you need in your life, right? We're the ones that take you through that journey and curate that process, right? And we always see like, wow, I didn't know that was what was going to be impactful for that man. Where, again, just to wrap up, what were some of those notable moments of impactful transformations that we saw at this last immersion?
There's a lot. What do you got coming? I'm trying to
we were you know, one thing that we brought through that I'll share is we were led through a beautiful cacao ceremony, and you know, we brought it in as a way to
spiritual hot chocolate.
Spiritual hot chocolate. I'm thinking of Coming to America. Sexual chocolate. Sexual chocolate,
no,
everybody.
Not sexual chocolate.
Spiritual hot chocolate, which, you know, in our lover season, the health effects, biohacking, all that kind of stuff of cacao is amazing. And we were led through a ceremony where we were so dropped in, so present. We were with every part of the journey of it. And for a lot of men, it was like so important just to slow down. I know you had a very almost sensual experience of just sipping this chocolate and being present, and how we miss that in life. Like, I know I could just gobble food down and not even think about it. It's like, did I actually taste that? That actually was I actually with that flavor and texture and praying into it as it goes in my body and setting intention into it and harmonizing with the heart shock. I mean, but it was a beautiful experience, and that was way more impactful than I could have imagined it to be. So I think that was a big one.
Yeah, it was absolutely and sensual, not sexual. The sensual, where it's like stop, be present, take your time. smell the aroma of the chocolate, feel the texture of the wooden cup in your hand, when the chocolate first touches your lips. Like, how many of us take time to do that? And, I know for one man, it was that awareness of being present and taking that time and savoring every moment in this chocolate ceremony. And he went, well, wait a minute, how much am I doing that in my lovemaking with my woman?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And instead of coming from a place of wanting to get my needs met or judgment or expectation, how about a place of co-creation? That may change things.
We definitely brought in some sacred union codes.
Yeah.
This immersion as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which would probably be a topic for a whole nother conversation.
Right.
As we wrap, any other last moments you want to share?
All of it, man. Just again, men just opening their hearts and just joy for life, right? Like, we got to see a lot of that. We got to see men just playing, right? And just being free and open hearted and none of the egoic male posturing that we see so often. It's like, hey man, look, we're here together, we're brothers. And it was a good time. And men kind of aligning on their mission. It's like, which we'll talk about in another episode, as we transition to the warrior, right? That the lover doesn't die when we transition to the warrior. In fact, the lover becomes protected. Right. When we transition to the warrior. We've talked about how the warrior is the archetype of action, get shit done, run through a brick wall. It's the engine of the vehicle. But the heart, the lover, that's the GPS. Right. That's what the warrior is running to, right? The warrior is, his course of action is set by the heart, by that lover, sacred third lover energy and archetype. Because without the heart, you're just a mercenary. You're fighting for the highest bidder. Right? What's the point? Right? So that heart-centered action, we found men stepping into that heart-centered warrior and it's like, hey, let's align together and let's fight this battle together. Let's run this mission together, because together we are greater than we could be apart. So that was one of the standout moments for me of the immersion, is just seeing that take place. You got any last honorable mentions?
Yeah, I think that, I love just being in camaraderie, community, brotherhood, even our talent show where we got to see men sing, dance, play guitar, do handstands, do skit comedy. I mean, you name it, and just see that vulnerability to be vulnerable in front of other men in this way. But just share your gifts, and how everyone has a talent, everyone has something special to share, and being in community like that.
Yeah. So, we called it our talentless talent show. Talent was optional, right?
Yeah. No talent required.
Yeah. It was because it was just about heart expression, right?
Totally. Yeah. It was beautiful. For you men that maybe this piques your interest, go to the website ignitetheking.com, book a call, receive some of this transmission directly. If our programs are right for you, we'll absolutely recommend them. And if not, we won't. Subscribe to the podcast, share it. This information is for you. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. Aho.